Hello everyone, this is Kathleen from Be Again Books, and I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about the next step in making a junk journal with beginners in mind. And now that we have the cover made and the signatures formed and bound in, the next step is to decorate. And I guess I should say the next step is how I decorate, because this is the step where we kind of diverge. Everybody goes their own way and decorates the journals how they like. And it might be that you have a certain style that comes out each time you decorate. You might be decorating with a theme in mind, and so that kind of is different every time, maybe. Anyway, I really believe that there are as many ways to decorate a journal as there are journal makers. And so once we have the journal made, then it becomes a naked journal and everybody takes it their own direction from there. But I think this next step, decorating, is the most fun. And it's actually why my channel exists, to show different ideas and fun things, embellishing and adding details, and that's what's fun for me. So you'll have to just keep coming back to get more ideas about decorating a junk journal, because that's what I often do in my videos. But I did, because I'm thinking about beginners, I did think about a few things that I would go back and say to myself if I were beginning this process. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I have about 5 tips. So let me turn the camera around and we'll get started. Here is our journal, and this is the journal that we're working in, and I have a bunch of stuff on the desk that I'm going to show you. And then we're going to decorate this page together. So I have written these tips out, and we'll talk about them a little bit one by one. So if I were to go back, I would tell myself to save the best scraps and figure out how to organize them. As junk journalers, we use a lot of paper and we generate a lot of scraps. And we can either throw them away or we can organize them, because otherwise they just take over our space. And so my tip is to save the best scraps only, or they will, in my experience, become difficult to organize and use. So try to use the scraps you produce, but you need to find a way to save them. And after many years, I have stuck with this system. So I have trays, and I have one more, but it's bigger and deeper, and it would be awkward in the camera. So I have 3 trays, and I have the bottom tray is the largest, and it holds all of my neutral kinds of paper scraps. Now these are scraps. My paper storage, that's another video, how to store your paper, the paper that you use, for signatures and for other larger types of decorating. But this is the storage for scraps, because that's what gets out of hand. And so the bottom is for plain and kind of printed but neutral colors. And then the middle tray is full of scraps that are colored or printed some way. They have colors in them. And of course, sometimes they overlap. I can see several things here that belong in the neutral box. And sometimes I can get lazy about that, but this is mainly for the colored scraps. And then I have this top tray is for the little scraps, the little tiny scraps that could get lost in the other trays, but that are meant to, go in collages or other kinds of clusters maybe. These are the tiniest scraps, and they just go in here. And when these trays fill up, I either discard some of the papers or I do a scrap busting kind of project. I make master boards or other kinds of things. So that's the first tip, to save the best scraps and organize them. The next tip is to find a way to organize your ideas. And I have already done a video on how I do this. I shared it actually not long ago. And so I will link that video below, but I use, I have, as I mentioned, I have a couple of idea books, but what I use most now is this pocket pouch. And so I make templates of the different ideas that I see and want to replicate in my journals. And I just keep them in here. And then I use those when I want to decorate. But I will refer you to that other video to show you kind of how I use it to organize the decorating process. There are a lot of different ways to organize your ideas, and you'll find one that works for you. Okay, then the next tip I want to share is that it can be really helpful when you're decorating to kind of streamline the process. So if you are a planner like I am, then you kind of know ahead of time what kinds of pockets that you're going to make, and you can then kind of streamline things. If your journals are typical or alike in style, some people like to decorate just element by element, and they get an idea and they make that, and then they move on to the next one. And other people do what's called a mass make, where they just take a bunch of the same thing and make a whole bunch for their stash. So this is an example of that. In my stash, I have these book page pockets. They're just simple, you know, made from leftover book page. And I can make a bunch of those. I can even go a couple steps further and maybe do a simple foundation collage or emboss them or some other way. But if you have these kinds of things in your stash, then it makes the decorating go quicker and if that's important, if you're doing a project that has a deadline or something, then that can be really helpful to streamline some of these processes. And there is no right way to do it. You don't need to do this step. If you like to do things one at a time, then that's okay too. Perfectly fine. But once you get a little bit of experience, I bet this will help you a little more. Okay, then number 4 is to approach the decorating process with confidence. And this is a hard thing for beginners, but it is so important. I've come to learn that. We are so indoctrinated that when we learn something, we need to learn the facts, the undisputed facts. If we want to learn the proper way to do something, the undisputed way to do it. But with art, that is just not the way one learns. You learn to do art by doing art. And that's because art comes from within ourselves. And I think the way we learn to have confidence is by learning what we ourselves like. And then we can learn how to do that and please ourselves as we're creating. The closer we come to creating to what we love, the more confidence we gain. And at first we make things that don't come very close to what we would like and what we love. But the more we make, the closer we get to that. And when your confidence grows, that's when the process really becomes fun. And when you can just leave the rules aside and do what pleases you, then you'll love what you do, and your art will look better and better. I promise. I wish that I were facing the camera when I tell you this, because I'm passionate about this. You learn to do art by doing art, and the more you do it, the more you will love it. And then finally, the last tip I have, and by the way, I have a lot of tips about how to make a good design. And again, as I say, that's why my channel exists, is to talk about some of these things. So come back again. I may have another video about, how to decorate a page in a journal. But the most important thing that you can do as a beginner is just to start. You can start with basic elements. All journals need pockets, tuck spots, belly bands, other fun things. And there are all kinds of videos out there on YouTube. So just find something fun and get started. So with that, we're going to make one of my favorite pockets. I call it my Teresa LaFrenz pocket because I saw this on her channel. So I'm just going to put that template back in the pocket pouch. And I've gathered up some things that I want to use. So that would look pretty. And I'm liking this. This didn't make it into the journal, I don't think, but it has the proper colors, and I like that. I also like this green. It's kind of goes with that, but this one also goes. And you can see that I'm just using scraps today to make this pocket. And then I've got another couple of little things that we could use. So we have a pocket at the back, and then we have a smaller rectangular piece, and then we have a third rectangular piece. So that's kind of the basic template. And I thought about using these bags, but I think I've changed my mind. I think what I want to do is to use this green, and so I'm going to measure it. So we're going to start with this larger piece, and that goes at the back, the edges. And then I think I do want to use this little piece here. I think that's going to look pretty, but that's going to be okay, because there are no rules here. And this is going to be like that. So I'm going to make a tag shape on this. I think I want that a little steeper. Yeah. Okay, now we have our pieces ready, so we need to glue them down. We're going to glue on two sides. And just another tip for those of you who are beginners, if you try to leave some space close to the spine, then the pages will turn and lay better. If you have too many pockets that are too close to the spine, it will put pressure on the spine. Okay, now this one overlaps this way. All right, and then this one overlaps this way. So what happens now is then you can have a tag that goes in the back, a tag or a paper, and then you can have another one that goes behind there, and then another one that goes there. So it's just this really pretty triple layered pocket, I think. a bow. And I'm just going to use some of this crinkled seam binding. Someone asked me in one of my earlier videos about how I make this crinkled seam binding, and it's so easy. All you do is you take a length of the seam binding and you squish it up in your hand. You get it with this spritz bottle, you just get a little bit of water on it so that it's damp, and then you smash it together, and that's it. That makes it that way. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here on here so that won't come apart. There we go. Now I need to decide whether I want to do anything further to that page. I think it looks fine, but we could put just a little something there in the scraps. We have this. That might be pretty. We've got this flower. No, I don't like that. That's a sticker, it looks like. That might be pretty. I think I like this home. And partly because it has blue in it, which will kind of bring in the blue. I like how it's narrow and would be kind of offset. This will extend that one a little bit. I mean, the line on this one, it's kind of like a step down. I kind of like that. So let's give that edge a little bit of a distress. And let's just glue that on there. Very good. I kind of like the way that looks. I hope you do too. I hope that's a helpful idea for decorating your own journals. So I will link the video where I do this again in the description box so you can see something a little different. And then I'll be back with a new project in decorating. I did promise that I would show you how I use envelopes decorating the journal, and so I think maybe we'll do that next. Thanks for being with me. We'll see you again with a new project.